It's great to have you with us here on this Monday of the Word of Encouragement. Well, it's been quite a weekend for Bible-believing Christians and certainly for the folks in Israel as we see things developing that could very much give way to some major conflict around the world. But it is also very interesting how it fulfills prophecy. And so we as believers just need to realize the Bible's true. God will arrange things at the right time, but we need to be praying and be far more alert than we ever have been about walking with God and trusting God that He will indeed take care of us. The Lord Jesus was warned that the political powers of that day were going to come after Him. We read in verse 31 of chapter 13 of Luke, "The same day there came certain of the Pharisees, saying unto Him, Get thee out, and depart hence, for Herod will kill thee." Well, they, of course, were trying to get Him to be fearful and to get Him to show weakness, which He certainly did not in His answer here. But this is going to be, I think, an issue for believers about their own reaction to potential threats that we may have in the days ahead. Are we going to run, or are we going to continue on and do what God has called us to do? We read in verse 32, "And He said unto them," the Lord Jesus did, "Go ye and tell that fox," speaking of Herod, "Behold, I cast out devils, and I do cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I shall be perfected." And then He says, "Nevertheless, I must walk today and tomorrow and the day following, for it cannot be that a prophet perish out of Jerusalem." So He very calmly but firmly says, go ahead and tell Herod. And He calls him that fox. He realized all the deception that was going on here. Just look at what I'm doing. And of course, we know from other passages that Herod was very amazed at the wonders that Christ was doing. Having some kind of Jewish background, partially, he did have respect for that. And so the Lord is telling these Pharisees, you tell him what I'm doing. He needs to respond to that and in fear and know that I am doing what God has called me to do. Now, for us as believers, we need to have the kind of testimony that they had in the early days of the church during the Roman Empire. Several emperors were very much affected by the testimony of believers. Their courage, their heart for others, their love for one another, the fact that they were not criminals and they were not actually trying to usurp the government. They were stirred by the testimony. And God was able to use that as a way to continue to move the church forward and to glorify the testimony of the Lord, even in those times of intense persecution. And for us, we need to be able to have the same spirit that the Lord has. I'm doing the work of the Lord. I am real. Truth is real. We're not the ones that need to be thrown. The world is the entity that needs to be thrown. And it's amazing when you have the courage and boldness of God, how that can affect other people. So may God help us have that kind of heart as we approach maybe difficult days ahead. May we have that kind of spirit to see God use us in a mighty way.